because no one else is going to do it for you. And when you outsource your belief and your responsibility to someone else, to a client, to your income, to a coach, whatever it is, you instantly lose because that is something that you can't control. You're listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, a business and mindset coach who specializes in imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not as smart, capable, or worthy as you actually are, and that someone is going to find you out, then you've come to the right place. I went from being a struggling government worker, working my coaching business on the side, but feeling unworthy and burnt out, to making multiple six figures helping women overcome imposter syndrome so they too can sign clients, make bank, and have the business or career of their dreams. I am nothing special. I have a stuttering disability, ADHD, and I struggle with anxiety and depression. So if I can learn how to feel good enough and overcome my inner imposter, then so can you. Let's dig in. Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. My little nephew comes next week, you guys, and I flew out to see him back in February when he was fresh out the womb, and now he's going to be 3 months when he comes next week with his parents, which is my older brother and his wife, and I am just so excited to see that little fucker. I love him so much. He's had all his little vaccines, so I can kiss his face, which I'm so excited about. And, he's the first grandson in our family, like from the grandkids. We have me, my sister, my brother, we have a couple of cousins. So this is the first grandchild on this side of the family, and we're all very obsessed with him. I just know he's going to be the hottest commodity when we're there for Easter, and they're here for 10 days. So that's going to be so nice. And today's episode is going to be short but sweet. I was coaching a client in March in the From Imposter to Empowered program, and she had a really good question about how she can create authenticity so when she shows up online it feels like her and she doesn't feel like a fraud. And we talk a lot about imposter syndrome and feeling good enough, helping our clients get results inside of the From Imposter to Empowered program. So of course the topic of showing up online and doing so authentically when you still have all these thoughts about yourself, these kinds of things come up, right? Because obviously as soon as you get into the program, we have to work on it, right? So a lot of the time we're kind of balancing this line of how can I show up still so confidently and authentically while still working on my imposter syndrome. And my default answer is always, you have to stop judging yourself. Like, that is the first fucking step. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you have to stop judging who you are behind the scenes and how you do things. And in the same breath, I want to also say that you need to hold the fact that you're not going to judge yourself, but you're also going to stop coddling yourself too. Like, you're going to notice the behaviors and the things that you're doing behind the scenes that are not conducive with that highest version of yourself. And you need to have self-compassion, self-understanding, and self-awareness that when you judge yourself, you're only making it harder for you to sell your work. You're only making it harder for you to do the work that you're on this fucking earth to do. Because a big piece of this work that we do as coaches and as service providers is we lead from the front. We are the people who are in charge, technically, to our clients, and people will pay you a lot of money because they see you as a leader and they see you as someone who they want to learn from, who they want to create the transformation with them. And it's going to be so hard to see yourself in that light when you're judging every fucking thing that you're doing behind the scenes. You're judging if you have a snack at night. You're judging if you have a doubt in your head about your confidence. You're judging the content that you've been creating. This constant cycle of not feeling good enough, it's not just something you feel, it's generally something that is affecting your content and is affecting how you show up, which is the whole reason why your girl has a job, right? Because I know that even though somebody says, I need the content prompts, I need the strategy, I need to know have a conversation in the DMs, there ain't going to be nobody in the DMs. Because if you allow these feelings to take over, and even if you have clients, the income is going to dry up, right? You're not going to have people asking about your work because your confidence really is everything. Your leadership is everything. The way you perceive yourself is everything. And that is going to be the thing that gets you paid. How we live and the way we behave is so closely linked to our business and the way that we feel every day, the way we allow ourselves to show up. And that requires an elevated version of yourself. That requires you to look at your habits, look at your behaviors, look at the way you're moving, look at the decisions you're making, look at the way you're interacting with the people around you, with your clients, with the things that you're doing or not doing inside of your business, and really asking yourself, am I in integrity? That's the first question. And 2, do I respect myself? And these are conversations I've had to have with clients because it is something that comes up and it can feel almost frustrating, right? I've definitely been there before when a coach has been calling me forward and being like, this kind of behavior or this kind of thinking is why you're stuck in the first place. And even though I've been frustrated or sad, or even though there was a big part of me for a long time that loved being the victim and thought nothing was ever my fault in my business, I was very humbled when I started realizing, like, if you do not take full responsibility for everything that goes on in your business, you will not move forward, right? Because no one else is going to do it for you. And when you outsource your belief and your responsibility to someone else, to a client, to your income, to a coach, whatever it is, you instantly lose, because that is something that you can't control. Like when you say, the algorithm sucks, so I guess I'm just not going to post because who cares? Who's going to see it? Or like when you say, this client that I'm working with isn't getting results, they're not doing the work, so I guess I can't talk about my services in this way, or blah, 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 blah. You're outsourcing your belief. You're telling yourself that your success is incumbent on someone or something else. You're outsourcing your belief to a fucking algorithm, to a client, to a social media platform that's free, and you're therefore basing your behaviors on something that you can't control and telling yourself, I can't control this, so it's out of my hands, instead of always looking for a way for it to be in your hands. And I know, and I've seen firsthand with clients and with my own business, that I am 100% in control of the way I see myself, and I need to do things that are going to be conducive with how I see myself. Especially if you struggle with imposter syndrome, especially if you struggle with self-doubt, thoughts of not being good enough, thoughts of who is going to pay me. It's so important for you to do the inner work. It's so important for you to be in integrity with the work that you're doing and with the work that you're selling. This is why when people talk about hiring a coach or investing in themselves, the way that starts is to show integrity with the work that you're doing. They're essentially saying, I invested in myself and I'm putting myself first, putting my dreams and goals first. And they're subconsciously saying, I expect my potential clients to do the same. And sometimes people even like talk about that in their content. They say like, I invested in blah, 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 right? Because they're actually trying to communicate to their audience, like, look at me investing, you should too. And I think what they're essentially just trying to convey is integrity. Like, I'm going to talk the talk, but I'm also going to walk the walk. But integrity is more than just doing something so you can talk about it. Integrity is felt internally and what's going on behind the scenes. So again, your leadership is the way that you see yourself. And it's really important. And you're not going to get to an authentic place when you're fucking judging yourself, when you're criticizing yourself constantly, when you're telling yourself you're not good enough, when you're telling yourself who's going to want to pay me, or like no one's going to pay that, right? Like, you are your own worst enemy. You are the girl on the playground that you're going to run home and tell your parents about, right? Like, she was mean to me, but it's actually fucking you, bitch. So instead of judging yourself, ask yourself, how can I be more in integrity? How can I be more aligned with the version of me that would feel good enough, that would feel like she can help people, who is excited to show up and talk about the things that she talks about? And can I just say, if there are things that you're really harshly judging yourself about every single day, what the fuck are you doing to change those things? Are you working towards improving yourself? Are you working towards the beliefs that you actually want to have about yourself and that you know you would have if you had the exact business and income that you wanted? For example, something that I've always talked about is that there is no room to feel like a fraud when you're moving forward and when you're doing the inner work. When you're totally immersed in doing the inner work and you're committed to growing your business, there's actually like no room for you to tell yourself, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't know what I'm talking about. That just means you're not fully integrating yourself in this work. Something about my clients who come to work with me in one-to-one coaching or the From Imposter to Empowered program, they say that they feel so much freedom and relief when they sign on with me. I've had multiple clients say after only a couple of weeks, I don't feel like a fraud anymore. I don't feel like an imposter. It feels a lot lighter when I show up and sell. And it's because they're actually doing the work. They have decided, you know what, this is something that I really need to tackle. So even just like the act of paying me, they're like, I feel so relieved about this. It's because they've invested themselves into the process that I take them through to overcome imposter syndrome and grow their businesses. But it's also because they respect themselves enough to actually do the work. They see the work that they're putting in, and they know that, hey, even if their beliefs are not at 100%, even if they're not exactly where they want to be right now, they're working towards it. And you're always going to be working towards something. And you are allowed to be in process at the same time as owning your fucking worth and owning that you should be paid well for the work that you do. There's that quote from Sophia Bush. I don't actually know if she said it or not, but something she said years and years ago was, you are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. And I actually do think that she said that because her podcast is called A Work in Progress. But ultimately, this is like the poster of struggling with imposter syndrome. You're going to feel a lot of feelings. There's going to be a lot of duality when you're working through this shit because you are undoing and unlearning years and years of conditioning and programming that has told you for years that you're not good enough. You're learning how to think differently. You think you can do that in a day? Like, let's be fucking for real, okay? You're going to be completely changing your neural pathways, changing the way that you think, and that is going to take time. But at the same time, we want to take action because we want to make money. We want to serve clients. And how I've been able to reconcile that over the years while I was actually building an audience, building a foundation, building a brand, was I would continuously tell myself, you're allowed to be in work in progress. You're allowed to be working on these things. And that shines through, right? Because I still feel good enough to show up and own my worth. And I still did feel that way. It's almost like that concept of objects in motion stay in motion. So when you are doing the work, when you're educating yourself, when you're investing in yourself, when you're making moves, you are creating momentum and moving towards the goals that you have with speed. And you can do the inner work at the same fucking time. So stop judging yourself and take it as a sign instead to check in with your integrity, to check in with your alignment, to check in with, am I really acting as if, and having the thoughts of the version of me that I want to be. And if you're not, that's okay. We don't need to judge ourselves. Again, we just need to see how we can start moving towards that each and every day so you can create the life and the business that you want. Okay? I hope you guys love this episode. And if you're wanting to do this work, if you're wanting to overcome imposter syndrome and grow your business to 10K, 15K, 20K months, I am your girl. I would love for you to come and work with me inside of the From Imposter to Empowered program, which is my group mentorship container for coaches or service providers, or you can come and work with me in one-to-one or my 2-week intensive called Iconic. You can reach out to me on Instagram at YourCoachJill. If you have any questions at all about working together or my offers, you will find all of that at Your Coach Jill or at the link in my show notes. Okay? I love you guys so much. See you next week. Hey babe, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Screenshot it and put it on your stories and tag me at Your Coach Jill. And if you really love me, you'll rate and review the podcast. And if you screenshot it before you submit the review and send it to me, I will send you a free gift on me. If you want to take this work deeper, come and work with me in the From Imposter to Empowered program or the Real Deal Mastermind. And finally, if you want just a snippet of my work to feel what it's like to be in my world, then you need to buy my best-selling book, You're Not Special, and you can get that on Amazon. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week.